The EV battle, China's electric surge, and Europe's struggle for dominance. Over the past few years, the European electric vehicle (EV) market has been shaken by a dramatic influx of Chinese imports. What was once a modest $1.6 billion in 2020 has now ballooned to $11.5 billion by 2023, signaling China's aggressive push into Europe's automotive space. Although Chinese vehicles still account for a relatively small share of the total European car market, the growth is undeniable. In just 5 years, Chinese and Chinese-owned brands have expanded their share of the European EV market from a mere 1% in 2019 to a staggering 15% in the first half of 2024. Why are Chinese EVs so competitive? China's rapid rise in the EV market can be attributed to several factors. First and foremost, the Chinese government has provided substantial support to its domestic EV manufacturers, enabling them to develop cutting-edge technology and scale up production rapidly. Subsidies, tax breaks, and research grants have all played a role in propelling Chinese automakers to the forefront of the global EV race. Additionally, China benefits from lower labor costs and significant economies of scale. This allows Chinese manufacturers to produce EVs at a fraction of the cost faced by their European, American, and Japanese counterparts. For instance, the BYD Seagull, one of China's most popular EV models, is priced as low as $10,000, making it nearly impossible for European manufacturers to compete on price. But the key advantage lies in batteries. China controls more than 80% of the world's battery manufacturing capacity, giving it a stranglehold on the most crucial component of an electric vehicle. This dominance over the supply chain not only lowers production costs, but also ensures that Chinese automakers have a steady and reliable source of batteries, a challenge that many Western car makers are struggling to address. Europe's dilemma: to tax or not to tax? Faced with this onslaught of competitively priced Chinese EVs, the European Union has found itself at a crossroads. The proposed tariffs of up to 36.3% on top of the existing 10% import duty aim to protect the European automotive industry from being overwhelmed by cheaper Chinese imports. However, this move has sparked a heated debate within the EU and among its member states. Supporters of the tariffs, such as France, Italy, and Spain, argue that these measures are necessary to shield European manufacturers from unfair competition. They point out that the Chinese government's generous subsidies give their automakers an unfair advantage, allowing them to flood the European market with cheap EVs. Without these tariffs, they argue, European car makers could face severe losses, potentially leading to factory closures and job cuts across the continent. On the other hand, some countries like Germany, Finland, and Sweden have expressed reservations. German automakers in particular have significant investments in China and are concerned that these tariffs could provoke retaliatory measures from the Chinese government, which could hurt their business operations in one of their most important markets. China is Germany's third largest market for car exports, and a trade war could have serious repercussions for the German economy. Moreover, some European automakers have voiced concerns that these tariffs could backfire by making EVs more expensive for consumers. With Europe striving to meet its ambitious climate targets, cutting emissions by 55% by 2030, the need for affordable EVs is greater than ever. If Chinese imports become too expensive, it could slow the adoption of electric vehicles, hindering the EU's ability to transition to a greener future. The global context: a game of trade chess. The situation in Europe is not occurring in isolation. Around the globe, countries are grappling with the implications of China's rapid EV expansion. The United States, for example, has already imposed a 100% tariff on all Chinese vehicles, aiming to protect its own automotive industry. Yet, even with this hefty tariff, Chinese EVs like the BYD Seagull remain cheaper than many American-made alternatives. This highlights the formidable price competitiveness of Chinese manufacturers. In response to the U.S. tariffs, Chinese automakers have explored strategies to bypass these trade barriers. For instance, companies like BYD have been reportedly negotiating to establish manufacturing facilities in Mexico. By producing cars outside of China, these automakers hope to circumvent U.S. tariffs and gain access to the North American market. This cat-and-mouse game is likely to continue as Chinese companies seek new ways to expand their global footprint. And it's not just about cars. China's dominance in industries such as solar panels and telecommunications equipment has already set a precedent for how it handles global competition. Whenever Chinese manufacturers gain a foothold in a market, they often use their extensive production capacity and government backing to quickly outcompete local rivals, sometimes leading to accusations of dumping, selling products at prices below their cost to drive competitors out of business. The future of Europe's automotive industry. As Europe grapples with this influx of Chinese EVs, the stakes could not be higher. The automotive industry is a cornerstone of the European economy, providing jobs for millions and contributing significantly to the GDP of several member states. Protecting this industry from external competition is not just about economics. It's also about preserving a key part of Europe's industrial identity. But the challenge is immense. European automakers have, in recent years, adopted a strategy of producing fewer vehicles but at higher prices to maximize profits. This approach has worked well in an environment where demand outstrips supply. But it becomes risky when faced with a competitor like China that can flood the market with low-cost alternatives. The proposed tariffs are, in essence, a timeout for European automakers to regroup and adapt. They need to invest in new technologies, streamline production processes, and find ways to lower costs without compromising quality. If they can't, they risk losing significant market share, not only in Europe, but globally. What's next? The outcome of this trade dispute will have far-reaching implications for the global EV market. If the EU proceeds with the tariffs, it could set off a chain reaction of retaliatory measures from China, further complicating an already tense trade relationship. On the other hand, if the tariffs are not implemented, European automakers could struggle to compete, potentially leading to factory closures and job losses. For now, the future remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the EV race is on, and the stakes are higher than ever. Europe must decide whether to protect its own or open its doors to cheaper, more competitive Chinese EVs. How this battle plays out could very well shape the automotive landscape for decades to come.